It's amazing they got paid so much money for that.
25 million and 40 million?
I think 20 and 40. Yeah,
20 and
I think
40.
that's what I'd heard. You know, which I'm happy Mike got the money, and I'm happy that he didn't get hurt. That was my fear, that it was going to be a real.
Joe Rogan just exposed Mike Tyson after he rejected a rematch with Jake Paul, and honestly, it's shocking. Tyson, once known for his legendary punches that could knock grown men out cold, now refuses to step back in the ring with Jake Paul, a YouTuber who recently decided to try his hand at boxing. It's almost laughable, but here we are.
I hate him. He's been making good money. You know, he's come back, like I said, in his life. He's done a good job.
According to Rogan, Tyson's decision to bow out of the rematch is a red flag as big as a Vegas billboard. If the fight wasn't scripted, why not run it back? What's the real issue? Tyson's arthritis, or did the script writers not have time for a sequel?
You know, there's a lot of... Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time, I mean, if you didn't think that that's the way the fight, I don't know what people expected. You know, Mike's almost 60 years.
For many, it's painful to watch a legend fall short of his legacy. Choosing comfort over confrontation is a tough pill to swallow, especially for fans who have admired Tyson for decades. It feels like a betrayal, not just of the sport, but of the belief that true greatness never backs down. The message this sends is harsh. Even the strong
understand it was a big nostalgia hit. It got our attention. It was a big financial promotion for everybody, and it actually worked. Now, the fight was absolutely terrible, and it feels like Paul was holding back his punches. At times, Mike Tyson
might one day avoid a fight. For those who have looked up to Tyson for so long, this decision is a hard reminder that heroes, too, can fall.
Than a carnival. Tyson, the man known for ferocity and knockouts,
the first fight between Mike Tyson
hesitant.
and Jake Paul
His punches,
raised more
the same
red
ones
flags
that used
than
to
a
send
carnival.
opponents to dreamland,
Tyson,
suddenly
the man
lacked
once
conviction.
known for his
Watching him
ferocity
fight Jake
and
Paul was like
knockout
watching a
power,
lion
seemed
play with
hesitant.
its food,
His
and
punches,
then suddenly
the
decide
same
to become
ones
a
that
vegan.
once sent
You're
opponents
telling me
to
Mike
dreamland
Tyson forgot how to throw a
suddenly
real
lacked-
punch?
Dude.
Me too.
And he was a larger-than-life figure in my childhood.
Truly, me
when I
too.
was a kid, when he was the champ, it was like people don't understand what a champ he was. Like he wasn't just the heavyweight champ of the world. He was an execution.
Conviction. Watching him face Paul felt like watching a lion play with its food and then decide to become vegan. Rogan sarcastically quipped, "Sure, Mike Tyson forgot how to throw a real punch. And Jake Paul is the greatest boxer of all time." It wasn't just Tyson's punches that looked off. His footwork was sluggish, as if he were dancing on thin ice. Meanwhile, Jake Paul, a YouTuber turned boxer, somehow managed to survive Tyson's...
Bit of a shit show, but, you know, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Punches without flinching. This is the same Jake Paul who struggled against retired athletes and wrestlers, yet he held his own against one of the most feared boxers in history. Either Jake Paul is made of steel, or Tyson was pulling his punches like a parent sparring with their toddler, Rogan joked. Boxing analysts didn't hold back either. One expert noted that Tyson's performance seemed unusually tame, stating that his punches looked like they were thrown with half the power he's known for. "If that wasn't intentional, I'd be shocked," the analyst remarked. Another trainer emphasized that no fighter at Tyson's level suddenly forgets their instincts, suggesting that what we saw wasn't the real Mike Tyson. It was Mike Tyson the actor. Now Tyson's refusal to rematch Jake Paul only adds fuel to the fire. Joe Rogan, ever ready to call out the obvious, tore into the excuse-making. "Now Tyson's too retired to fight, too old, too busy," Rogan mocked. Funny, none of those things stopped him from signing up for the first fight. His sarcasm was sharp, but the point was clear. Tyson's refusal doesn't make sense
Rogan couldn't
unless
help but
there's
laugh at
something
how
to
perfectly
hide.
Tyson's refusal
Dana
fits
White,
into
a
Jake's
combat
narrative.
sports
Jake's
purist, would
probably
likely
loving
take a
this,
similarly
Joe said.
X has spoken.
The fight was scripted. Everyone is talking about this on X, and the script was actually leaked.
Critical stance.
Now he gets to play
though
the victim.
with a focus
Oh
on the
no, Mike
implications
Tyson
for
won't
boxing's
fight me
credibility.
again. Guess I'm too
White
much for the
has long
heavyweight
criticized
champ.
Jake
It's
Paul's
comedy
carefully
gold.
curated
Jake
fight
has
history,
built his
and
career
would
on
probably
moments
argue
like this.
that the match
He
was more
cherry
about
picks opponents
entertainment
like he's
than
selecting
competition.
fruit at a market.
If there's
Just
nothing
ripe
to
enough to
hide,
make
why
him
not
look
do a
good,
rematch?
but soft
White
enough
might
to
ask,
avoid any
pointing
real
to
challenge.
Tyson's refusal
Rogan
as a red
laid
flag.
into him, saying,
For
"This
White,
guy's entire
the fight
career is
was
built
another
on fighting
example of
people
how
who are either
celebrity
retired,
boxing
smaller,
waters
or
down the
completely out of their
authenticity
element.
of combat
And
sports.
now he's got a
What's
heavyweight
even more
legend dodging a
suspicious is how this
rematch.
fits into
Jake
Jake
couldn't have written
Paul's
a better
brand.
script how this
Let's
plays
be
into
real.
Jake Paul's
Jake
brand.
Paul isn't
Let's
in
be
boxing
real.
for the sport.
Jake Paul isn't
He's
in
in
boxing
it for the
for the
spectacle,
sport.
the headlines,
He's in it for the
and the
spectacle,
pay-per-view
the headlines,
buys.
and the pay.
Rogan couldn't help but laugh at how perfectly Tyson's refusal fits into Paul's narrative. Jake Paul is probably loving the drama, Joe Rogan said, laughing. Now he gets to play the
Well, let's see how accurate it was. The opening bell rings. Tyson is showing flashes of his old form, which actually
victim. Oh no, Mike Tyson won't fight me again. Guess I'm too much for the heavyweight champ. It's comedy gold. Jake has built his career on moments like this, Rogan continued. He cherry-picks opponents like he's selecting fruit at the market, just ripe enough to make him look good but soft enough to avoid any real challenge. This guy's entire career is built on fighting people who are either retired, smaller, or completely out of their element, Rodan said. And now he's got a heavyweight legend dodging a rematch? Jake couldn't have written a better script himself. Tyson's refusal to rematch Jake also raises serious questions about the integrity of their first fight. If everything was above
Rogan
board,
joked
why
that
not
Jake's
prove it with
probably
a
already
second
thinking
match?
about his next
A
call-out video
rematch would have
targeting
been the
someone even
perfect
more
opportunity
absurd.
to shut
Maybe he'll
down
challenge a
critics and show
zookeeper
that
next.
Jake Paul can
I'm
hold
taking
his
on
own
the guy
against a
who
legend.
feeds the lions.
Tyson's
Let's see
refusal,
if he can
however,
handle me.
practically
The joke was
screams,
funny,
yeah,
but
the
it
first
highlighted
fight
just
wasn't
how
legit.
ridiculous.
Childhood.
Truly, me
When I
too.
was a kid, when he was the champ, it was like people don't understand what a champ he was. Like he wasn't just the heavyweight champ of the world. He was an
Jake's fight selection
Rogan
process has
didn't hold
become.
back on
This
Tyson
whole debacle
either.
isn't just a bad
Imagine
look for
being
Tyson
Mike
or Jake
Tyson,
Paul. It's
one
a
of the most
disaster for
feared men
boxing.
in boxing
The sport
history.
has enough
And
problems
now you're
without
dodging
celebrity
a
matches
YouTuber.
turning it into a sideshow.
What's next?
Fans tune in for
Refusing
skill,
to arm
heart,
wrestle
and
your
competition.
grandkids because
Instead,
it might
they're
hurt your
getting something
legacy?
that looks more like a
The
reality
sarcasm
TV
was
show.
thick, but the
Rogan
truth was
didn't hold back his
undeniable.
disdain, saying
Tyson's
boxing
legacy,
is supposed to be the
once
sweet
untouchable,
science.
now
it's
hangs
looking
in
more
the
like
balance.
sweet nonsense.
By avoiding the
Andrew
rematch,
Tate
Tyson gives fans every reason to believe the first fight was just a cash grab. If Mike Tyson wanted to protect his reputation, he'd step back in the ring and prove everyone wrong. Instead, he's hiding behind excuses that don't hold up. Meanwhile, Jake Paul is undoubtedly plotting his next move. Rogan joked that Jake is probably already thinking about his next call-out video, targeting someone even more absurd. Maybe he'll challenge a zookeeper next, Rogan quipped. I'm taking on the guy who feeds the lions. Let's see if he can handle me. While the joke was funny, it highlighted just how ridiculous Jake's fight selection has become. This whole debacle isn't just a bad look for Tyson or Jake Paul, it's a disaster for boxing. The sport already has enough problems without celebrity matches, turning it into a sideshow. Fans tune in for skill, heart, and real competition. Instead, they
big. It didn't hurt. Like he didn't really land anything.
No, because your head is like just
even
tell
the
you can
one
just
he
take
landed-
impact like crazy.
Even the one he landed, I saw it coming.
they're getting something that looks more like a reality TV show. Rogan didn't hold back his disdain, saying, boxing is supposed to be the sweet science. Now it's looking more like sweet nonsense. Andrew Tate and Dana White have never been ones to sugarcoat, and their likely take on the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight reflects that. Andrew Tate would dismiss the entire match as a spectacle, a hollow performance that tarnishes boxing's legacy. To Tate, the idea that Mike Tyson, once an unstoppable force, couldn't overpower a YouTuber-turned-boxer is laughable. He'd argue that the fight wasn't about skill, but about crafting a narrative that Jake Paul could use to further his brand. Tyson should have crushed him, Tate would say, adding, real fighters don't need to play soft for the cameras. The worst part is that fans aren't buying it. They see right through the excuses, the dodging, and the PR spin. Tyson's refusal to rematch Jake Paul isn't just a bad decision. It's a betrayal of what boxing is supposed to stand for. Rogan made it clear that the only way to fix this mess is for Tyson to step up and prove the doubters wrong. But will that happen? Probably not. Tyson seems more interested in preserving what's left of his legacy than risking it in a rematch. As for Jake, he's likely too busy planning his next stunt to care about proving himself as a legitimate fighter. Rogan wrapped up his rant with a brutal yet fitting conclusion. If this is what boxing has come to, maybe we should just call it performance art and be done with it. At least then people will know what they're paying for. Tyson's refusal to rematch Jake Paul may seem like a small story, but it's a symptom of a much bigger issue. As long as celebrity-driven matches continue, boxing's reputation will continue to take hit after hit. So here we are, Mike Tyson, once a symbol of power and dominance, now dodging a YouTuber. Jake Paul, the king of spectacle, is milking the drama for all it's worth. And boxing fans, they're left shaking their heads, wondering when the sport they loved turned into a circus. Rogan's take was harsh, but it was also spot on. If Tyson wants to salvage his reputation, he'll need to do more than dodge a rematch. He'll need to step up, lace up, and show the world what he's made of. Anything less and the questions about his legacy will only get louder.